And let us continue with this, the 9th chapter of The Whispering Mountain by Joan Aiken. Owen and his gang of bullies have found the Prince of Wales and are trying to carry him somewhere where he can recover from his injuries. But Dove has spotted who he thinks might be Bilk and Prigman. Now, of course, Owen never saw them very well because he didn't have functioning glasses at the time. So he's not sure if it's them, and Hwaffa thinks they should ignore Bilk and Prigman if it is them and attend to the prince. And we will pick up from there. "We must hope they are going to Nantagadu too," he said regretfully. "But Hwaffa is right. We ought to take his highness on as fast as possible. I'm afraid he is falling into a fever. Maybe the toasted hare disagreed with him." The prince was indeed very flushed and restless. He seemed to sleep, but occasionally muttered or called out a few incomprehensible phrases. "Oh, Hanari! Oh, John! I hate miss it. The capital size. Sorrowful. The brood. Guy or your daft reeks, man." "There is a pity, though, not to dust the jackets of that pair while we have them out in the forest," sighed Mogg wistfully. "Just a bit of a chat, sociable, and maybe they will be telling us who set them on to steal the harp and where they've taken it, eh, Hoffa? Just you and me to go, and the other three carry the old prince to town, is it? Not more than a couple of miles now." "No," Hwaffa said, "and I am sticking by the prince. What do you say, Owen boy?" "That is not a bad notion of Mogg's," Owen said. "Supposing you, Mogg, and Dove follow those two men, steal close if you can, try to hear what they say, and see where they go, then meet us in Nantagada at the Boar's Head." "Right, you," Mogg said happily. "Tie them up in knots, we will. A worm would find it hard to imitate. Come on, Dove." "No, just make sure they are the right men," Owen cautioned. "They have knives. They are dangerous, especially Bilk, the tall one." "No matter for that," huge Mogg said comfortably. "A pair of Welsh lads can soon mash them into hotchpotch, you will see." Mogg and Dove made off, running up the hill, while the remaining three shouldered the litter once more, and, being well rested, swung along at a rapid pace. Soon Owen began to recognize landmarks on the route he had taken with Mr. Smith, the king's messenger. They climbed out of the forest, up grassy slopes, now grayed over with a thin layer of snow, and came at last into the narrow gorge leading to Nantagardau. "No sign of the others yet," Hwaffa said, peering through the snow, which came thicker and thicker. "Roundabout way thieves must have taken, not to be spotted by honest folk. But Mogg and Dove will have them marked down, no danger. Old Dove is as good as a bloodhound when it do come to tracking. I hope they will be all right," said Owen, who was now having doubts as to the wisdom of his plan. "No call to fret, boy," Hwaffa said. "I will back Mogg and Dove against the whole British army with boots on." Perhaps the thieves are going back to the empty house, Owen thought. Perhaps they left something behind there and decided to let me loose after all. He wished he had thought to warn Mogg and Dove not to go in there, supposing the house was still standing. But then he recalled how anxious Bilk and Prigman had been to leave it. They would hardly be likely to return. Soon they passed the abandoned row, reached the entrance to Father Ianto's cave. "Wait just a minute," Owen said. "If anybody has skill to care for his highness, it is the good brother who is living in here." He put his head through the opening and called out, "Brother Ianto, are you there?" But no answer came out. Owen went inside and found the cave dark and unoccupied. The tapers had burned out. He tripped over something and, stooping to feel about, discovered Brother Ianto's little wooden toolbox. It lay open, and, as his eyes became accustomed to the gloom, he saw that the tools were scattered untidily over the floor. "That is queer," he thought, rather troubled. "It isn't like Brother Ianto to leave his things all strewn about. What could have happened?" Hastily he gathered the tools into the box, and then made his way back to the others. "Brother Ianto does not seem to be there," he said. "I will ask about him in the town. He can't be far, or he would have taken his tools. Luckily, I have another friend in the neighborhood who will be able to help the prince. They took the litter straight to the Boar's Head Inn, where Mr. Thomas, the landlord, and his wife nearly fell into a distraction with anxiety over their royal visitor, and gratification at the honour done to their roof, and dismay over the need to send somebody somewhere with a message about the prince's mishap, and worry about how they were going to get enough provisions to feed his highness as a highness should be fed. Sheets were aired, fires lit, cauldrons put on to boil for poultices, and a stable boy sent running for the doctor. Luckily it is we have good Dr. Jenkins in the town, Mr. Thomas said. A fine skilled physician he is, and does wonders for the folk that come here to take the waters. Fine high fees he do charge too, sniffed Mrs. Thomas. Pull a tooth, he will come near to ruin you. Indeed, sooner take my troubles to the pretty young lady in her dap at the fair I would. Beautiful oil of groutweed and angelica she has given me for my housemaid's knee, and only a groat to pay. Owen, when he saw the pompous, consequential little doctor, was inclined to side with the landlady. Escaping from the fuss and uproar as the prince was put to bed, he ran off through the snowstorm to the top of the town. He had been anxious in case the unseasonably warm winter weather might have made the fairground people decide to pack up and move on elsewhere. However, when he reached the quarry, he was relieved to find that most of the tents and wagons were still there, though it was plain that they were not doing very good business. He flew to the spot where the Dandos caravan had been located and drew up short in dismay. The wagon was no longer there. Thinking that he might have gone astray in the snow, he turned back and searched more carefully, but without success. Have the Dandos left? He asked an elderly lady in a red cloak, frilled bonnet, and steeple hat, who was smoking a pipe in the doorway of her tent under a notice that said, cinnamon bins. Eh? She leaned forward, cupping her hand over her ear. Mr. Dando and his daughter, where are they? Owen shouted. Eh, dear boy, how should I know? Went from by here. They did yesterday, but I am not knowing where. Not a one to chatter, Tom Dando and his daughter. I was not seeing at all before they left. Will you be buying a cinnamon bun, my little one? Fresh baked they are, and so crusty to melt on the tongue. Owen's mouth watered at the thought, and at the warm scent of baking which came from the old lady's tent, but he had no money and regretfully declined. On his way back to the inn, he asked all the people he met if they had seen Brother Ianto, but nobody had. However, the potman at the Boar's Head, when asked, said he believed a messenger had come from the Marquis inquiring for Brother Ianto, and had later been seen driving off toward Caermallon in a gig. But why should his lordship want Brother Ianto? Owen demanded, rather troubled. How do I know, boy? Leave bothering me. Dear knows enough work I have for 3 men looking after the customers in the bar and mixing up the devil's brew for Dr. Jenkins. Luckily, it is that old Seljuk and his servant left and went off to stay with Lord Malin. Pity all this lot wouldn't go as well. The potman was beating eggs, turpentine vinegar, and ammonia together in a pewter beer mug. The doctor, leaning over the stair rail, called, Make haste, man! Am I to stand all day empty-handed? Oh, dammo! Here, you give it to the old gory nog, the potman said, pushing the mug at Owen, who carried it upstairs into the prince's chamber. Hwaffa was here blowing up a newly lit fire. Luggins carefully supported the prince's reclining form on the bed, while Dr. Jenkins tried to persuade him to drink a treacle posset made from figs, barley, and licorice. But the patient was far from willing. He threw himself from side to side, uttering strange cries. Oog, oog, seize me to dare you. Trout you. Your Highness, please. Dr. Jenkins wiped some treacle from his beard. Oh, you blithering goose. You gabbling skite. The man is mad with him, said Dr. Jenkins vexedly. Prince David seemed to come to himself a little. Dinna gang silam stand, my man, he croaked. Have you nae a dram of uskaba, a tass of aquavite? Oh, gracious to goodness, fretted the doctor. What will his Highness be talking about, I wonder? Indeed, it is beyond me to understand his ravings. I think I know, said Hwaffa, who often helped his father in the Dragon of Guan. He ran downstairs and soon returned, bearing a glass of colorless liquid, which the prince recovered with a seraphic smile and immediately swallowed down. "Ah, you're a canny lad, a lad after my own heart," he said to Hwafa. "Ance the inner man is satisfied, you can do what you damn please with the outer." And turning over, he sank into a sleep so profound that the doctor was able to spread turpentine salve over the wound without any way disturbing his patient. Then they all tiptoed downstairs, but as they were doing so, they heard a strange thump in the air like a soft clap of thunder, and the building trembled. "What was that?" Owen said. "Dear, dear, can His Highness have fallen out of bed?" worried the doctor and bustled upstairs, but Hwafa said, "Outside the noise was more like a big gun it sounded." "Or a fall of a rock in a pit," Luggins said. "No pits around here," said Hwafa. Owen's knees suddenly went weak beneath him. "Come with me, quick," he said. "I believe I know what it was." Followed by the other boys, he began running down the street toward the empty row of houses. But before they reached the end of the town, they met Mog and Dove, who were pale and wide-eyed. "Please to say what has been going on?" Hwafa demanded. "Wondering what you were up to, we were. No need to push the old mountain over, is it?" He spoke sarcastically, but he was plainly relieved to see his friend safe. Dove was shaking all over. "Awful it was," he said. "Awful." "What happened then, man?" "Here," suggested Owen. "Let's get out of this crowd in the snow." Half the population of Nant Agardau was scurrying down the road through the snowstorm to see what had happened. The boys turned aside and walked through the great porticoed cave entrance. Beside the town hall, a sign on a board read, "Nant Agardau Town Council, Devil's Leap Cave. Admission 6D, immersion in waters 2S 6D, water per glass 1S. But the man who usually sat at the table in the entrance cave taking sixpences had dashed off down the town like everybody else. The boys walked into the cave unchallenged and made their way through a passage in a series of linked chambers to an inner cavern with a hot pool in it, where old ladies came to bathe their rheumatic ankle joints. "Now," said Hwafa. "Tell then, is it?" They all sat down on rocks. "We followed those two men," Mog said. "Easy it was. They went up the hill, corner ways, like crabs, leaving tracks behind them in the snow. No trouble to keep in sight. But where the trees thinned out, hard to get close enough to hear their talk. So we kept on, follow, though the path they took would break a snake's back so roundabout. By and by they came near Nant Agardau, us still a good distance behind. Nasty old path thereabouts, too. All loose stones, kick one down, start the whole hillside falling." "I remember," Owen said. "They took me that way, too." "Then we come into a gorge, and easier to creep near, because the road do bend about. Stole along we did, quiet, to hear one snowflake grind on another, and came on the pair of them sudden, standing still to argue in the middle of the road. Old Dove here squatted down behind a rock, and I squeezed into a little bit of bramble scrub, for the prickles I am yet, and crawled closer and closer." "Will you swear you haven't got it hid away?" I heard one of them say. "Swear till Turpentine Sunday I will," says the other, very angry. "What difference do it make? All I care is that old Stigmatical will have our necks in 3 days if we don't get it for him. I'll lay you've got it all along. If I had, would I still be keeping company with you, Foister?" Says the other, angrier still. "'Twas all your peavy notions got us into this embarglement. Now you get us out." "Well, I say we'd best go back to the stalling ken and see what's come of the young co. Maybe 'twas he fetched out some ways and prigged off the bandor." And there we will pause.